God eftermiddag, good afternoon, everybody. I was almost going to start speaking Swedish, which I should not. Welcome to Norrsken House and the 5th day of the Nordic Climate Action Weeks. We're really happy that you are here, and we are really happy that you are now in front of me, I think, Stian. You over there in Madrid are with us, and also all of you that follow this on the internet. We are going to talk about young water solutions for sustainable development now, and I will give the word to Ania, who will be moderating this event for us. Actually, that was not what I was going to do. I was supposed. I'm sorry for being mixed up here now. I was going to check that we are in contact with Madrid. Are you there, Mats?
Oh yes, it's so nice to hear your voice, and it's so nice that you also allowed me to say some words. And that's about all I say, and I give back to Stockholm because everything is okay.
Everything is okay, and now it's all yours, the floor here, Ania.
Thank you so much, and welcome to this seminar on young water solutions for sustainable development. I would like to just quickly introduce our panel that consists of young innovators and researchers. And with us in Madrid, we have Miguel, Sequeiros, Doval, and Ariadna, González, Navarro. And here in Stockholm, we have Jonatan, Persson, and Miguel, Nyirenda. Before we turn to them to hear about their work, I would like to give you some brief history of what the Stockholm Junior Water Prize is all about, because you might not actually be familiar with it. And so, going back 100 years, the waters of Stockholm were extremely polluted. It was actually one of the dirtiest waters in Europe. And the city decided that something needed to be done. And after decades of work and dedication, the waters became one of the cleanest city waters in the world. So this calls for a celebration, and in '91, a festival was created in Stockholm and an award to award amazing, excellent water achievements and ongoing clean water initiatives. And that is the Stockholm Water Prize. That then grew into SIWI, Stockholm International Water Institute, where I work, and that also became the World Water Week in Stockholm, which is the most recognized water conference in the world, which today attracts 4,000 people coming to Stockholm each year. In '95, the city also decided to promote young water talent, and Stockholm Junior Water Prize was awarded for the first time as a national award in '95, and then as the international award that we have today. Crown Princess Victoria is our patron, and today, or this year, we were happy to greet 56 young students coming from 35 countries. And 4 of them we see here today. So we're very happy to have you here. They have all created innovations and done research to get us closer to a water-wise world. Today, as we face the challenges of climate change, this work is more important than ever. The climate issue is a water issue. And it really requires us to think about how to manage our waters. We're facing problems of too much water, extreme weather conditions and flooding, and too little water with desertification or droughts, or simply too dirty water, which is unfit for human beings, societies, and ecosystems. We need to adapt to this reality and find better ways to manage our water for sustainable development. And the 4 Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists here today have done remarkable work in helping us start off in the right direction. So let's start, or move over to the stars of this show. And I would like to start in Madrid, where we have Miguel Sequeiros Doval, who was with us in 2018 as the Spanish winner. And Miguel, so please tell us, what brought you to Stockholm?
Hello. Well, for me, the experience was really amazing. and we had a really great time, and I have an amazing experience there. And I was speaking after with Ariadna that we have the same impression.
Wonderful. So tell us about your work that brought you to Stockholm.
Well, first of all, hello there in Stockholm. Hello here in Madrid. I'm going to speak about my project that is called Galeria Meronella, an ecological solution to the problem in treatment plants. And I want to say that this project was made by Miguel Aragón Fernández, Lidia Castro Núñez, and me, Miguel Sequeiros Doval. So it is commonly known that human plastic waste is a worldwide problem, and the dramatic increase in rivers and ocean pollution due to these materials have resulted in the accumulation of plastics and microplastics in the aquatic environment and affecting the ocean's plankton and the entire food chain. So cleansing wipes used for personal hygiene and baby care are one point of this problem. And we wanted to address if this worm that we knew that is able to degrade polyethylene, we want to address if it is possible to degrade and to break down polyethylene derivatives present in the wet wipes. So before explaining our project, I want to speak a little bit about us. We started our adventure in a small city in our high school, Maristas Ourense, from Ourense, a small city in the northwest of Spain. And in this moment, I want to thank you, Stockholm Water Prize, for giving us the opportunity of making real our dream, and also Viacqua and Maristas Ourense for sponsor us. As we said before, we want to know if Galeria Meronella, that is the honey worm, was able to degrade the polyethylene derivatives. For this, we placed these worms in a laboratory container, completely covered by a plastic film wrap during 48 hours, and as a wet wipe as its only source of food. And the cleansing wipe degradation rate by Galeria Meronella was estimated at 0.083 milligrams per worm per hour. And here, if you see the presentation, we can see the first wet wipe before the 48 hours, and the second one, the wet wipe after these 48 hours, where we can see the homes performed by the worm at first sight. And we were happy to see that Galeria Meronella has a metabolic pathway that results in the breaking down of polyethylene derivatives without producing any contaminants or affecting this worm's life cycle, and also producing polyethylene glycol that can be subsequently converted in ethanol and fatty acids, increasing the economical value of the subproducts of this degradation. We know also that there is very limited knowledge about the mechanism used of this worm, and further investigation is focused on that, on identify the enzyme of symbiotic bacteria that lives in the gut of this worm, so it could be isolated and produce it on a large scale and culture on a large scale for the degradation of these pet derivatives. And this is the point. We will sequence the genome of the symbiotic bacteria from the gut of Galeria Meronella in collaboration with the University of Santiago de Compostela. And this enzyme responsible for degradation will be used for the degradation of these products. So thank you so much for listening to me. And I pass the word for my partner.
Yeah, just can I ask a follow-up question to you, Miguel?
Yes, of course.
Yes, and I also would like to let you know in the audience that I was actually contacted after the Stockholm Junior Water Prize by a person working at the municipality of Buenos Aires who were interested, because they have a similar sewage problem as many cities do actually with fatbergs due to the wet wipes and other plastic material. And they were interested in reading Miguel's project, so I thought that was really impressive. But Miguel, I know that you're now studying medicine. Do you think that you will use your water interest also in the future in your medical field? And yeah.
Well, First of all, we want to thank this girl from Buenos Aires because it was amazing receiving news about her. And well, if I need to answer to your question, I will say that now we are really focused on our career, and this project is something that you have always in your mind because we dedicate a lot of hours and illusion. And yes, I would like to work in something related with investigation and obviously developing our project and also investigating themes related with the water because it's what I love.
Thank you so much. So Ariadna González Navarro is our next speaker on the panel. And Ariadna, we met only a few months ago. It was, 3 months ago here in Stockholm where she represented Spain. So please, Ariadna, tell us about your project.
Okay. So, hello, good afternoon. My name is Ariadna Gonzalez, and I'm studying second of baccalaureate at Argentina High School. Nuclear energy and the one generated by fossil fuels are rolled out by the great problems they have, like their cost, their waste, and obviously the environmental problem. So we only have renewable energies that are hydraulic, wind, thermal, photovoltaic, and biomass. My idea is to harness the movement of the waves and tides to generate energy. The big advantage is the energy potential of the oceans as they are always on movement. On the other hand, we find the hostile environment where it is, the storms, the salt water, since it is very corrosive, the cost of construction, and another would be the visual dam because such facilities should be close to the coast. In today's systems, buoys are held by their central point, and only when the crest of the wave passes through its center, a vertical movement is generated. That is the one that activates the power generation mechanism. With my proposal to hold the buoy by 3 points out 120 degrees, we achieve greater efficiency of harnessing the movement of the waves of the sea, as well as greater energy generation. The buoy being held by 3 points and with generous dimensions would generate energy with a little swell, making the system run longer throughout the year by being more efficient and economically viable. Now I'm going to give you a little demonstration. In a video of Fortaleza installation, you can see how the buoy is oscillating over its anchor point the 80% of the time, but this only moves when the crest of the wave passes through the center, squandering of all the rest. From here comes the idea of my proposal to hold the buoy by 3 points and thus take better advantage of the oscillating movement of the waves. The prototype reflects all the above, formed by a ball held by 3 points, strength by 120 degrees. It is anchored to the skates that move along the axis, which in turn move the power generation system that is the Zyper pinion. The sprockets spin the pulley by a bale with a radius of 110 to get the maximum revolutions per minute. These 3 stepper motors, because of their characteristics, generate alternating voltage, and by means of an electronic plate formed by 3 diode bridges, it is rectified to their own current. In this photo, we achieve 20 volts and about 130 milliamperes, and are rectified to 5 volts using a DC converter that powers the display LED. The 3 stepper motors on whose axle there is a 50 millimeters pitch spindle for a quick squeeze displacement are in charge of simulating the movement of the waves. In the green box, we can find the electronic of sea system formed by a power supply, power drivers, and an Arduino Mega that governs it. So what steps do I think need to be taken? First of all, evaluate the prototype, basically focusing on the buoy and the resistance of the ensemble by computer modeling and simulation. Then do a prototype scale and test it in our simulator to perform an analysis of its movement. If this is favorable, it will look for the most efficient energy converter to get maximum energy. In short, the idea is to create a system that presents greater efficiency throughout the year, as much in energy generation and in the number of months where that is active. In fact, it's about adapting to the sea, not that the sea adapts to us. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ariadna. I'm thinking that it's only 3 months, we said, since you were actually in Stockholm with us at Stockholm Junior Water Prize. And how are things going? I know that some organizations are already getting in touch with you, interested in your innovation. So tell us,
yes,
how's it going?
Things are going great. And thanks to the publicity of having participated in Stockholm Junior Water Prize, and a company called Wedge Glover is in contact with me, and they have a headquarters in Madrid, and they has taken an interest in my project. So they initially see it viable and are waiting for a $20,000 grant for the first phase. That would be the modeling and simulation by computer. And I will hear from them at the end of the month.
Excellent. I'm sure we will hear more about that. Thank you, Ariadna.
Thank you so much.
So let's move to Stockholm. And our next innovator, Jonatan Persson, the floor is yours.
Yeah, awesome. Well, no signal. One of mankind's biggest threats is the more and more urgent water scarcity. And one of the reasons for this water scarcity is the huge water consumption made by industries. In Europe, more than 50% of all the fresh water goes to industries. And globally, the number is around 20%, but is estimated to increase to 40% by 2040. So if these factories had become more self-sustaining in water, there would be enough water left for us humans. And these industries also have huge amount of waste heat that is usually flushed down in the ocean. It's calculated that around 50% of all the energy in the world is lost due to waste heat. I believe that one way to solve the water scarcity is to clean salt water, so-called desalination. But conventional desalination is both expensive and very energy demanding, so there's no way for poorer regions or large consumers such as industries to use it. Conventional desalination also has a huge environmental problem with a highly concentrated brine that they release back to the ocean, and it sinks and suffocates the ocean floor. But what if there were a new desalination method that were both cheap, energy efficient, and eco-friendly? My name is Jonatan Persson, and this is exactly what I have done. When I was 16 years old, I developed a new desalination method that uses industrial waste heat to clean salt water. And the method uses water evaporative properties, meaning that in contact with air, water can boil below 100 degrees. So, can you hold this? You heat up salt water to 95 degrees and you pour it over this folded cellulose block called cell deck. In this block, huge amount of water surface is exposed. Behind the block, you have a huge fan that blows air through it, and when air gets in contact with this hot water surface, around 5 to 10% instantly evaporates and comes out as a steam. This steam is then cooled down on cold seawater pipe, where you can obtain a distilled water that factories can use instead of buying tap water. I build my machine as circular wind tunnel, where you have a fan, an evaporator, and a condenser. You let the air circulate around and around to preserve the air momentum and reduce heat loss. I'm now building a full-scale pilot facility together with the industry giant Höganäs and in my home city of Halmstad. This pilot will be able to produce 40,000 liters of fresh water every day and is estimated to be finished next spring. Our common goal is to create the world's first water-positive factories, meaning that we will clean more water than the factory uses. And the advantages of my method are many, and I will present some of the strongest ones. As we use this industrial waste heat, the electricity consumption is extremely low. We require around 2 kilowatt-hour per cleaned cubic meter, which basically means that I can clean 1,000 liters for 10 US cents. That's way cheaper than tap water. And we also deal with the environmental problem with the brine. We only clean around 5 to 10%, so the concentration that is released back to the ocean is much lower, and it's also slightly warmer, meaning that our brine will rise to the surface instead of suffocating the ocean floor. And we are building quite small and modular units, which enabling factories to easily customize for their uses. A small paper mill might buy 3, a large smelter might buy a few dozen. And these factories also have this huge amount of waste heat that needs to be cooled down. And this cooling capacity costs money. And my desalination units are also cooling units, saving both energy and money for the factory. And compared to conventional desalination that often has to be clean or so-called backflushed several times per day, my machine only needs maintenance once every 6 months. And the last but the strongest point is that as I only use 3 simple components, a fan, an evaporator, and a cooler, I can severely reduce the production price. Compared to a Swedish desalination plant built in 2016, I can reduce the production price by 90%. My dream is that Helios Innovation, that my startup is called, will be the driving force in climate security. We hope to fastly expand in the industry sector and make them more self-sustaining, and then take out a royalty on all the water they produce. This royalty will then finance a more solar-based desalination unit that will enable me to clean water for millions of people in coastal areas. And that, my friends, is my dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonatan. Yeah, so you graduated high school this year.
Yes.
And since then, you're dedicated full-time to this project or your innovation.
Exactly.
And how are things going? I mean, now further on, how do you get businesses to listen to you?
Well, most factories don't care about water because it's so cheap. But all over the world, we are seeing increased water tariffs. So now factories are looking long-term and see that if they don't do anything, they will lose enormous amounts. So therefore, they are willing to invest in my machine. And I actually has the good news that Lund University, one of the biggest ones in Sweden, actually granted me $20,000 this Tuesday, so I can finish my pilot facility.
Very good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent news. Okay, so Miguel Nyirenda, you participated in Stockholm Junior Water Prize in 2015.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as a country winner of Sweden.
Yeah.
So please tell us, what was your research?
Yeah, so my research, I was looking at glaciers actually. So the thing about glaciers is that, just to define a glacier to begin with, they are a large mass of frozen water. It could be in snow or in ice. Usually there is like a layer of permafrost beneath the actual snow. And the thing with glaciers is that they are big enough to actually move on their own. What's interesting about them is that they react really slowly to climate change. So if it actually gets warm, if the Earth gets warmer, then we're going to see this in glaciers. It's a bit more difficult to actually see this trend in other ways. You can you can feel that this summer was really warm, but this winter was also really cold. So what's going on actually? Is there any difference? So if you study glaciers, you can actually see this, because if they melt more than they grow in size during the winter, then we're seeing change. The only difficulty is how do you actually measure this change on a glacier. So I went up to Glacier. It's one of our It's actually the most documented glacier we have, and that's because you can actually climb onto it by just walking. I mean, technically, you can also walk up the Himalayas, but that's quite difficult. And if you also want to like measure a whole glacier, then yeah, you get problems really quickly. So what I did was I looked into, so how do you measure the glacier? Basically, you put down a bunch of holes throughout the whole glacier, and then you dig real tunnels on different areas, just so that you can see, like, okay, so how does the density vary all over the glacier? Then you collect all this data, you see how much the glacier melts during the summer, you see how much it grows during the winter, you collect everything, you calculate it, you reference it to an actual map of the glacier, and then you have your results. Now, I can't actually just measuring over 1 year doesn't really do anything, because that could be a warm year, that could be a cold year, we don't actually know. So you have to actually collect data over a larger amount of time. And why Stockholm is so important and why it's so interesting is because we have been collecting data from the 1920s, I believe, and there you can see that it's actually melting. So what would be interesting is to see, so how does this vary across the globe? Because, you know, climate change here might not be the same as in other places in the world, and here it isn't as important as it would be in areas where there are less, where they don't have the same amount of resources as we do. We can get our fresh water from other places, because glaciers, why they are so important is because it's about 2/3 of all our freshwater reserves that are in there. This is something we need it, the climate needs it, all different ecosystems need it, but in Sweden we could probably survive even if we didn't have this. In other areas like around the Himalayas, or around the, now I forgot the name of it, but the mountains around the Southern Americans, they need it a lot more than we do probably. So the thing is, how do we actually measure it in other places? Now, I'm not actually sure how we measure it, but I just know that we can, if we look at Stockholm, we can probably come up with a way to measure it in an easier way on Stockholm, and then we can move that solution onto another country or into another region in the world. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to solve this issue because it proved to be quite difficult, but I'm hoping. I have seen some studies, and there are some ways we can measure it. It's just not as accurate as actually climbing onto the glacier and measuring it yourself. So yeah, that's what I did.
Thank you so much, Michael. I know that you're on your 5th and last year of university and moving on to your master's this spring.
Yeah.
With that perspective and looking back at your Stockholm Junior Water Prize project, which to me seems more relevant than ever, and also considering all the development around climate change in this past few years, how are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was while I did this work, I was feeling like, okay, I really need to get more knowledge because I don't understand the big picture and all these different systems. Now, I mean, what we see basically is just they keep melting, and we're starting to see some different trends around the world. Like we're seeing more droughts, we're seeing more floodings everywhere, basically. But I really wish that we could have some form of if we actually could measure glaciers, we could actually figure out, okay, so we are seeing some trend, okay, so every 3 years we are going to have a drought in this area. We could probably figure out, if we study glaciers more, I think we can actually start to predict some patterns. Now, I'm not sure about this, but I think it's actually possible. So that's my newest perspective.
Thank you. Thank you all four. It's so inspiring to hear your work. It's quite extraordinary, the amount of awareness created and the amount of engagement from youth this past year, where you have actually really gone out there and demanded your right to a sustainable future. You're all young innovators, researchers. How have you, I'm curious to hear if you have encountered any challenges or even prejudice due to your youth. So anyone in Madrid or Stockholm?
I would say quite
Yes, Jonatan?
Oh,
No, no,
Yeah.
go ahead. Sorry.
I would say actually the quite opposite. Because we are young and we have such an engagement, people listen to us. They listen because, oh, they are young, we try to help them. But when they sit down and really listen to us, they understand that what we are proposing has a value, that we aren't just kids who don't know anything. We actually are scientists who have real data and can make a difference. And when the person on the other side of the table understands that, it's such a strength to be a young and passionate innovator, because I have 6 years until I'm 25, and in 6 years I can achieve quite much. So I would see it as a strength instead of a weakness.
Very good. So 25 is your
Yeah, then
deadline?
you're old.
Okay, good to know. Anyone else? Miguel,
Yeah, well,
Ariadna, any challenges due to your...
I really agree with him, but also maybe it's just here in Spain, but I hope no. But when you are young and when you in our age, maybe it's difficult at first sight to get sponsors, because they think that if you are really young, you don't have the acknowledgement, because you don't know many things that they can give you money. So for me, and well, we were speaking after of that. For me, the most challenge was to get sponsors because of that. I mean, when they read the project, obviously they realize that it's a great idea, mine and the other ones. But also at first sight, it's difficult to get sponsors, I think.
I see. Do you have any reflections, Ariadna?
Yes, I totally agree with both of them, because we know that our projects are ambitious projects, so we need an economic investment. And sometimes it's too hard for people to pay attention to us because we're too young. Mm-hmm. And that's why contests like Stockholm Junior Water Prize are important, because they help you to open new doors, and you show your projects and people can see, and we know that we can change the world. So
yes, totally.
Very good. Michael, did you want to?
Yeah, I would like to say, I mean, if you have, I didn't actually have to like contact sponsors, because I wasn't planning on actually like continue with my project yet. I wanted to research more and just increase my knowledge. But what I noticed was that it's actually most researchers that I have met in my school they are really nice, they're really open, and through them, if you're passionate about something, then they are really like, they want to help you, they want you to improve, and they want to see what you can do. So if you can't get a sponsorship, then start through your professor and see if they can help you. Just get into contact with them, and then expand your network, and then have an impact that way instead.
Thank you, very good advice. This year's Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists put together a youth statement directed to world leaders here at the climate conference. And they had some strong messages, because of course we're hoping for them to get into action mode. But I would like to start by asking the panel, before we have a film with their messages that we're gonna watch soon. But first, the panel. Have you any messaging to these leaders that we have here at the conference? Yeah, Ariadna, yes?
Well,
okay, so yes, I have something to say. So I think that the time of doing nothing, it's over, because pollution, it's a complex problem that which will need the generosity and courage of all the countries of the world, not just governments, but of all the people who live on this planet. So we must set aside the political and economic interests that are delaying solutions against global warming. I would ask for a change of attitude on part of everyone. Otherwise, the consequence will be catastrophic.
Thank you.
So, and for me, the message is really short and very clear, is that please do not go down in history as the leaders who could save the planet, but as ones who did it. Because as Ariadna said before, we don't have much time, and it's time for action, and it's now when we need to act, yes.
Thank you. Michael or Jonatan, any thoughts?
Yes, I can start.
Yeah?
So I would just like the world leaders to actually, like, they have resources, they have, even if, I can't expect them to be experts in sustainability, but I know that they can get into contact with experts. And I hear people in Sweden is considered to be a really, like, we're good in sustainability, we know what we're doing, but I'm looking at data and I'm thinking, so, yeah, we're talking about how we're really good in Sweden and how we're reducing our emissions, but then we just take an example, we just buy a whole bridge from China where we say, yeah, they need to fix their stuff, but we're just going to keep buying everything from them, and we're going to keep buying everything from India, and we're going to keep importing everything from the US, and then we're going to blame them for all the problems that we say that, yeah, we can fix them here, but you see my point. I just feel like you should probably just get our own numbers, and we should try and figure out, so what are our emissions? How can we work on them? How can we improve our sustainability? Not just put the blame on someone else.
Thank you. And Jonatan?
Yeah, the question is, why won't you do it? Because there are almost only positive effects of sustainable and new innovation and renewable energy, because it's actually cheaper to produce energy with wind and solar than coal-based energy, and the fossil sector has been standing still. You can't improve the efficiency of a coal plant, but solar and wind, and it's like skyrocketing with their innovation. So in the future, it will become much, much cheaper with doing the sustainability, and you won't have all the negative impact from fossil fuels. So why won't you change?
Thank you. Excellent. Let's hear what the other Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists have to say. If we can watch the film. Did you have the clicker? Thank you. Here.
It's in your hands to save and rescue the world from breaking down.
At SIWI, we recognize the important role played by the global youth in combating climate change, both as advocates and as solution finders. Therefore, we asked our Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists, young innovators and scientists from all over the world, how they experience climate change and what message they have for world leaders attending COP25 in Madrid.
In China, we have an ancient saying, the water can carry the boat, but can also capsize it.
Cyprus suffers from the highest stress level in Europe due to excessive and prolonged drought. This is produced due to inefficient and wasteful water exploitation.
Ever since I was born, the temperatures would rise rapidly more and more every year. The seasons would retreat, making place for an endless summertime. It doesn't take much to realize that Cyprus is turning into an actual desert.
I live in a big city, and since I was a kid, it has never been so hot here. And we are facing water shortages because deforestation is reducing the rainfall.
Climate change also affects the Republic of Karelia, where I live. Winters are becoming warmer, the height of their snow coverage has become less, and hot years are accompanied by fires.
I've spent nearly a decade monitoring the health of local waterways in my community. Unfortunately, I have observed decreases in biodiversity and also increases in things like nutrient pollution, algal blooms, and turbidity. This is caused by excessive runoff, which can be triggered by increased amounts of rain due to climate change.
Climate change manifests itself by affecting the water cycle, like bringing years-long droughts to Australia or bringing devastating typhoons and floods to southeastern China.
What motivates me to research and find solutions about water problems is that it is a fundamental element for people's lives.
This has inspired me and motivated me to be active in my community as a teacher and as an advocate. It's also inspired me to research new ways to get more effective data of waterway resources.
The only thing left to do is combine all the knowledge we have to come up with solutions to the multiple environmental problems of our planet.
My message to the global leaders on COP25 is, please, think about people. People are watching climate changes and suffering of it now. Like they are facing floods, desertifications, water shortages, and even lack of food.
We cannot let the economic and political interests of the moment outweigh the needs of the future.
Climate change would affect us all, and the advancement of low-carbon technology requires the cooperation of all nations.
They are our future. The next generation can continue where we left off. But before they can do this, we need to start taking action now.
On behalf of our younger generations, I beseech and implore our world leaders to rise to the challenge of these environmental issues. Stop climate change before it is too late. The youth of the world will remember your visionary leadership.
Thank you. Some clear messages there. I'm sure the audience are curious to ask questions to our bright panel. And so let's start with some audience questions. Should we start here in Stockholm? Or, yeah, okay. Let's take some questions here in Stockholm. Yes?
Yeah, so I work with youth and helping youth out with getting their business ideas off the ground. And I also teach about sustainable entrepreneurship. So my question to you is, what did you find challenging in pursuing your project? Like after you attended this event, what were the challenges, the main challenges for you?
Shall we move? Yeah, we can answer that right away, maybe, or do you want to reflect and we take another question? It's up to you. Jonatan, you seem like you have an answer.
As I already started during high school, I started my first year in high school with this project, and I actually started a company in the second year of high school. I was already past that stage after the Stockholm Junior Water Prize. But I think many young people believe that you have to have a university exam, or you have to have work experience in a field for several years before you can really do some difference. But they should just believe in themselves and understand that what they have worked with really has a value. Right now, you don't have to wait 5 years after university. You can do it even before university.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? A question here in Stockholm? Yes?
So hi, yeah, my question is directed to your project just with the brine. I'm just wondering a little bit more because, I mean, that's what you hear about always with desalination plants, and I understand yours is more environmentally friendly in the way it works. I'm just wondering a little bit more about it, like scientifically, how it works, because you said it's a bit hotter and it's, yeah, it goes to the surface.
Yeah, with conventional desalination, you usually clean around 50 to 70% of the water, meaning that the brine is really concentrated. We clean around 5 to 10% of the hot water. We also have cold circuits that conduct 2/3 of the water. So we can, how do you say it in English? We can submerge them together, even lowering the salt concentration. But as we use heat in the process, we are also heating up the brine to around 20 degrees more than the regular seawater. So it has a lower concentration and thereby has a more probability to rise to the surface than sinking to the bottom. We haven't done a field test, but that's how the fish should work.
Thank you. Yeah, one more question here.
Hi, so I'm just wondering a little bit with all of the teenagers right now mobilizing around the world for climate change with our very own Greta Thunberg, I think, in the lead a little bit. Like, what do you think about that? And like, have you been involved with that at all or, yeah?
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, I think it's really inspiring that that everyone are actually like trying to do something, because what I think is you just find what you can do and then you do it. You have to like search like, okay, so what do I actually want to do? What do I want to like? What makes me happy, basically. So I think it's really good that they are going around the world and they're actually making a change. Now, I haven't actually participated in like mobilizing. I have just been too caught up with my studies and everything. But I am really happy that I can actually like, I'm in my final year in university. I'm gonna begin my master degree, and it's related to these issues. And I just feel like, okay, so I can actually now start doing my own thing as well. So I just encourage everyone to do what they think is right. No, okay, not anything, obviously, but just make sure that it's actually good for something.
Of course, also Miguel and Ariadna, you can also answer these questions in Stockholm if you wish.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Nothing to say more.
Yeah. Let's move over to Spain and see and to have some audience questions from the floor in Madrid.
So hi, I came a little bit late, so unfortunately, my name is Nila Pati, I'm from Indonesia. And seeing the video, seeing you guys, I'm very happy because I'm also the youth representative from the Yongo, so youth constituency. And we just had a meeting with the ACE focal point of different countries. So in here, first of all, I would like to ask you, did you contact your ACE focal point of your country here in Madrid to share your idea, to share that you would like to contribute directly, not just telling them what to do, but you actually would like to take action also, in a sense, like helping them to implement, changes in your community. And the second thing is that, what is your opinion? Because I can imagine that you guys have the tool, and you guys have the opportunity to actually being innovative. You get the freedom to be, like who you are, that you want to push through your dreams and everything. What is your message for people who cannot do that? And how do you think they should, push further if their condition on the environment cannot really support them to actually create changes as big as what you guys doing? Thank you very much.
Okay, so the second question that you asked that about people that can afford like their dreams, I think that with little movements that they are doing, they can achieve a lot of things. In my case, I look for my dreams. I mean, this project makes me like became I don't know how to say
Realizada.
¿Qué?
¿Cómo quieres decir? Realizada.
No, en plan como mayor persona.
A better person.
Okay, so I
Improve like a person.
yes, I improve like a person. So yeah.
Yeah. No. Continue with continue speaking. Yes.
No.
Well, for me, asking the same question as her. For me, when we started the project, we never thought that we were here today and we will go to Stockholm or speaking today here or in Madrid. So for me, the main point and the message is that you need to get an idea, and with that illusion, try to make up the best project as you can, and move around your city, move around your country, because always is someone who wants to listen to you. And for me, that's the important message.
And one thing more, that you can talk with other people and ask them for like grants to help you and improve your projects and all you want to do.
Can you repeat the first question, please?
I'm very. So the first question is about national focal point. So in different kind of groups, you have national focal point, and the youth movement is usually on the empowerment, right? And the empowerment focal point is called the Action for Climate Empowerment. And every country have them. And they always like to hear this kind of ideas because they keep hearing people telling them what to do. You know, you need to change your policy, and then they're like, yeah, but how? Then when I see this, I think this is a perfect implementation on the changes that you guys can have. So I was wondering, did you contact your local, like your country focal point? Like for you, probably Spain then, yeah? And then, did you contact them and did you communicate your idea to them and share it and said like, look, we want to help you and we want to do this. If you're not doing that, are you planning to do that?
I didn't contact with them, but later when we finish, I will look for them, so I will ask.
Yes. Is the same answer, yes. We didn't contact yet because we didn't have
time.
Yes, really. Yes.
I actually didn't.
Thank you. Have another question? Oh.
I just want to add to that really excellent question and that really excellent idea, because what I'm seeing is that there might be a gap between the youth that are on the streets, they are striking, they're protesting, they feel very passionate about these issues, and then the youth that have the solutions, they have the tools, they have the science behind them. So do you guys have any ideas, suggestions, insights into how to bridge that gap between people in your own generation? How do they start talking to each other and sharing ideas?
Well, for me, it's really important, and we was talking about before, for me, it's really important to the strikes and all the messages that we are telling to the world, and also our part. There is the part that maybe is not as commercial, if we want to say it like that, but if I should say something about filling this gap, I mean, maybe is what we are doing today, it should be more known, because the people in the street maybe, and the most people in the street didn't know about anything about our project, and in Ourense we did a lot of things to make it know it. But here in Madrid, in Spain, and her project is amazing. We need to contact with people in the television, on the radios, on the. I mean, we need not just ours, but every single project that is here and there is also in Stockholm is need to be known.
Yes, I totally agree with Miguel. And I think that, like I said after, that we need to move and look for business, company, to contact with them, speak with them, and ask why we can improve and see if our ideas are possible to be real.
Yes, because for me, and one thing, we can have really good ideas, but without an economical part, it's impossible. Unfortunately, we need to look for sponsors to make up our ideas.
I think also that after the seminar is over, I'm sure you're happy to stick around and maybe you can get some good connections and advice. And we can also, of course, facilitate that. I think the country focal points was a very good idea.
Yes.
We still have actually one question here. If
of
okay
course.
With you. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Per Larsson. I'm also a member of the board of SIWI. And I must say, I really like your presentation and what you said. And I raised the hand before, but you almost answered the question. Our interest, of course, to make sure that we spread the knowledge about what you're doing and the ambition of creating a more water world, making sure that we can secure water for everybody around the world. So anything that you can help and give us recommendations how we can spread the knowledge about the prize, the process, and yourself, please come back to that. to us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have a question here in Stockholm again.
Thank you. My name is Frederick from Norway, and this question goes to Jonatan. Yeah. So, how would a great framework of mentorship benefit your hairless innovation? Thinking of serial entrepreneurs, combined with the full-scale pilot developments.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So how would a sustainable and strong network of mentorship help your develop your idea and innovation further on?
Yeah, in Sweden we have a really fantastic innovation networking system with how do you say offentlig verksamhet? There are state-funded organizations such as Almi, Vinnova, and Energimyndigheten who are really helpful, and you can, even if you don't have a fully developed idea, you can go to them, have them as mentors, advisors, and just spin off on with a small seed to a big innovation. I was quite early when I got into the innovation system in Sweden. I did it in the first year of high school, and they have been really helpful. Some part about the financial, they paid for the first prototype and partly paid for the pilot, but mostly for the networking, because when you're young, you don't know any people. You need to have some mentors who can help you and expand your network so you can get new experience, new partners and such. So it has been extremely helpful here in Sweden.
Thank you so much. Okay, last question.
Whereabouts can I read about this for projects?
I'm sorry?
Whereabouts can I read about this for projects?
Very good question. We do have a alumni network system called Water Tank. So you can go in on www.watertank.se and read all about these young persons' projects and also others. So, and just contact me if you are more curious about any specific ones of them. Thank you so much to the panel. Thanks to everyone here. I think it's always so inspiring to hear the works of the future generation. It gives hope. It seems clear that the work that you present are excellent water initiatives, as well as true solutions for sustainability. And we have Miguel, Ariadna, and Jonatan. Your innovations are addressing various water issues, but they also have on top of that a positive side effect that is energy saving. And your research, Michael, is a water project, but it's also a good indicator for climate change. That they are also presented and worked on by youth goes to show that we need to involve everyone in our work for reaching the common goals. Youth is not only who we need to protect the planet for in the future, but the younger persons can also be, or they are, accelerators and enablers of change. And I think we have seen that today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.